Hey everybody, Tony here with the third part of the supply and demand series where I've been, going back and going over supply and demand, the little intricacies of it, what exactly supply and demand zones are, how to draw zones, etc., etc. The first two lessons are on my YouTube channel, which are posted in the education tab in Discord. This third part to this series, I want to talk about how zones can flip into one another. And then I think this will be a 4-part series. In the next and final episode or part of the series, I'm going to talk about how I play these zones. So, to refresh a little bit, supply and demand zones, guys, are essentially a range, an area of support and resistance. And these support and resistance areas can flip into one another. So, for example, if support or demand is broken and something breaks through that, there is a chance, and a pretty good chance, that that support zone can then turn into a resistance or supply zone. And vice versa. If something breaks through a supply zone, there is a chance that it can retest that zone or area and turn that into demand or support. Now, I have a supply zone and a demand zone drawn. I'm going to try to illustrate best I can, what this kind of looks like. So, for this first example, say something works its way down into this demand zone, okay? Say it, you get a little bit of a bounce, but ultimately it fails to kind of clear this zone and reverse, and this ends up breaking down through this zone. So let's go ahead and label this demand. So once this is broken, guys, you cannot confirm that the zone has flipped until you really get a retest and a rejection. Now, there's going to be times where you have a liquidity grab through a demand or supply zone, and what a liquidity grab is essentially, market makers, big players in the market, forcing something through a key level, wicking it through a key level, collecting liquidity, and then running it the opposite direction. This allows people, them to get a discount on their fills, etc. So a lot of the times you will see a liquidity grab through a key support resistance area, a key supplier demand area. What that does is trigger a bunch of stops and, artificially inflates or, drops the price of something. So if something works its way through, you ultimately kind of want to see the candle close outside of the zone. And then what you want to see is, that stock work its way back into this zone. Maybe it works its way deeper, ultimately rejects, and then works its way down. Now, it is very, very important, and I'm going to cover this in the next episode, how I play these, but it's important that, there's two ways you can play these. One, you can play on the retest. You can see something's rejecting. Okay, take an entry. Your stop loss would simply be above this zone. So we can go ahead and here, do this. Okay, that dotted line would, if you're going short here, would essentially be your stop. So it's very minimal risk. This line here, let's label that breakdown. So essentially this level right here is that low before that zone was tested. And why this level is important is because, you'll have times where something retests and then double bottoms off where it reversed back into that zone. Some people will bid within this zone, okay? They'll play the rejection back down to this level. They're scaling profit. But they're also watching to see if you get a bounce off that level. If you get a bounce off that level, maybe you double bottom and actually reverse and break through that zone. So you have to be aware of that is a possibility. Now, there's a lot of times where you do get this retest and then it makes a new low if the trend is strong. So that's something you want to look for. this is also a level that you can play to go short. You can play, if you don't want to bid the retest, you can play the breakdown that makes a new low. And and if this gets that retest like we're talking about, this is then a supply zone or resistance. Now, let's talk about the inverse, okay? Let's say something working its way up, okay? Works its way into supply, maybe rejects a little, ultimately breaks through, okay? So let's go ahead and label this. Oops. So this was supply or resistance. A stock has a lot of momentum. It's in a healthy trend. It ends up pushing through this supply or resistance area. And then again, like we were talking about with demand, this time we're looking for a retest, okay, a pullback, and then ultimately, something wicks out, maybe closes back out of the zone, and then we're looking for that. Let's do this, and then let's do this, and then we're looking for, that breakout, or we're looking to play the retest. And again, if you're playing this initial retest of the zone, you have very minimal risk. If you take an entry and for whatever reason the trade doesn't work out because, it's the stock market, nothing is, guaranteed or for certain. Say something retests, looks like it's going to, bounce and flip the zone, but just breaks down. You have a clear defined area to place your stop loss. But if you do get this retest and something continues, you see continuation, this supply zone is then demand. So in the future, if the next day you have something that works its way down into this zone, and then, this has potential, okay, to be support and bounce, because this is now demand. And the same thing for something that flips demand into supply. If something the next day is under this supply zone that had flipped, there's a good chance that you see a rejection there. Something else I want to point out quickly, guys, is there are, zones that have or are stronger than others. So if you see an immediate reaction to a zone, that is an indication that that is a very strong zone. Or, for example, if you see a very impulsive move that creates either a supply or demand zone, that will show you that that is a very strong zone. If you see consolidation within a zone or a zone that's been tested multiple times, that's indication that that zone has become weak or is a weaker zone. I guess that's something I should cover. So next episode, I'll do how I play these zones, and I'll do strength of zones, because I think that's extremely important to be able to identify. So I hope this part 3 helps, guys. If you have any questions, please reach out to me, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you.